Welcome to sleep with myth. Close your eyes and let the world fade away. Tonight we drift beyond time, where gods dream and stories remember their light. Before the first mountains rose, before stars learned their names, before the sky and sea chose to become separate, there was only the deep below, a vast, endless darkness, warm, ancient, breathing slowly like the chest of a sleeping god. And within that darkness lay the Serpent King. He was older than light, older than memory, older even than silence. His scales shimmered with colors the world had not yet invented. Blues too deep for water, golds too soft for dawn, shadows too calm for night. He slept coiled around the heart of the unborn world, forming a perfect circle, protecting the smallest spark of creation. This spark was the first dream he ever dreamed. For he was not a god of destruction, nor a god of chaos. He was the keeper of beginnings. As he slept, the spark grew brighter, becoming a trembling orb of molten light. This pulse stirred the Serpent King awake. A ripple moved down his ancient body. His eyelids drifted open, and the world trembled. "It is nearly time." His voice rumbled through the darkness. The spark pulsed, the first heartbeat the universe ever made. He touched it gently with his snout. "Grow. Become what you must." Light filled the darkness, and for the first time he saw his own shadow, endless, old, winding through the abyss. Then he heard it, a second heartbeat. Not the sparks, not his own. Something else was waking. A whisper drifted across the abyss. "You are not alone." The Serpent King froze. For eons he had believed he was the only one. But something older, darker, and waiting was now stirring. "No," he whispered. "You cannot wake yet." But the abyss trembled again, and something in the darkness smiled. The deep below shook with a violence creation had never known. Light and shadow spiraled around each other, two colossal serpents, each older than time. The Serpent King's radiant coils glowed like molten dawn, humming with the first dream of existence. His brother, the Shadow Serpent, moved like smoke and silence, his form unraveling and reforming without shape or mercy. They circled each other, one born to guard the beginning, one born to end it. The spark of creation trembled between them. "You cannot extinguish what has only just begun," said the Serpent King. "It was never meant to begin," hissed the Shadow Serpent. They clashed, light and darkness exploding through the abyss. Each collision sent ripples that would one day become oceans, tremors that would one day shape mountains, sparks that would one day ignite the stars. The Serpent King fought not for himself but for the heartbeat of the spark, for the life yet to come. "For every beginning," thundered the Shadow Serpent, "there must be an ending." "There is no ending without life to live it," answered the Serpent King. The spark cried out, freezing them mid-strike. It showed the Serpent King a vision. Forests, skies, rivers, creatures with hearts capable of joy and sorrow. Beings who would look to the stars and wonder who made them. And beneath it all a guardian. Him. The vision faded. You will not touch this world, he vowed. The shadow serpent smiled. Then let the abyss judge us. Darkness surged, light flared, and the first war of creation began. The deep below had never known silence, yet after the clash of light and shadow, a stillness spread through the abyss like a slow breath. The Serpent King drifted downward, wounded but unbroken, his radiant scales dimmed like embers refusing to die. The shadow serpent glided effortlessly, a streak of darkness without beginning or end. You are fading, the shadow serpent whispered. Light cannot survive where no sky exists. The Serpent King gazed upon the trembling spark of creation, its glow flickering like a frightened heart. He suddenly understood. The spark was not just a seed. It was the world's memory, a record of what could be. And it was weakening because it had only one heartbeat. He coiled around it, whispering, "You are not alone. You were never meant to be alone." The spark answered with a soft glow. The shadow serpent circled them. You feed it dreams it cannot sustain. There is no sky, no rivers, no world, only darkness. If darkness is all that exists, the Serpent King said, then I will shape the first dawn within it. He pressed his forehead to the spark. A sound echoed through the deep below, the first breath of a world being born. Thin silks of light stretched upward, reaching into the void. The darkness recoiled. "What have you done?" the shadow serpent roared. But the Serpent King did not answer. He was no longer fighting. He was weaving. He let the spark borrow a piece of his own essence. The spark brightened like a tiny sun in endless night. Far above, the faint shimmer of a world began to form. The shadow serpent's voice trembled. "You steal what belongs to the abyss." "No," the Serpent King replied. "I share what the abyss forgot to dream." The spark pulsed, stronger, braver, awake. The first dawn had begun. Above the deep below, where no sky had ever existed, something impossible began to stir. A faint shimmer, fragile at first, then growing, hung in the void like the memory of sunlight. The Serpent King lifted his tired eyes. The spark between his coils pulsed brighter with every breath, its heartbeat matching his own. The shadow serpent observed from the abyss, twisting with anger and fear. "This is not creation," he hissed. "This is theft. You steal from the void." "I give it meaning," the Serpent King replied. Light gathered around him, swirling upward in shapes resembling wind, water, roots, and stone. They were not real yet, but they were possible. The spark imitated these forms, sending strands of light upward like vines reaching through darkness. A distant tremor echoed above them, as though the emptiness was cracking open. The first layer of the world was waking. "Do not fear the dark above you," the Serpent King whispered. "It is waiting for your touch." The spark glowed warmer, steadier. The shadow serpent lunged. "With each heartbeat you give it, you erase the world I was born to guard." The Serpent King met the attack, wounded but resolute. "You were born to end a story that never began. I was born to give that story its first breath." Darkness slammed into him. The spark flickered violently. He shielded it with his entire body. "You cannot protect it forever," the shadow serpent said. "One day light will fall, and I will finish what I began. If the world must end one day," the Serpent King answered, "then let it first learn to live." He released a surge of radiant energy. Light tore through the abyss and burst upward, where it blossomed into the first dawn. For the first time, a horizon formed where none had ever existed. The spark rose toward it, drawn by destiny. The Serpent King watched, knowing the final confrontation waited ahead. The spark drifted upward, seeking a sky that had never existed. The Serpent King followed, exhausted, his light flickering like a fading ember. Below, the deep below churned with fury. The shadow serpent surged upward, darkness twisting through the void. "It ends now," he thundered. "You will not leave the abyss with that spark." The Serpent King saw the truth. The shadow serpent was not merely darkness. He was the abyss itself, the silence before creation, terrified of losing its emptiness. "You were never my enemy," the Serpent King said softly. "You were the silence before the song. But even silence must one day give way." The shadow serpent lunged. Their final collision cracked the void open like a seed bursting into bloom. Light and shadow spiraled around the spark as it awakened, glowing brighter than ever before. Darkness coiled around the Serpent King. "You cannot win," the shadow serpent whispered. "You are one. I am everything." "You are everything," the Serpent King whispered back. "But I am the first dream." He released the last of his light. Radiance erupted from him, gentle and absolute. The shadow serpent unraveled, not destroyed, but transformed. No longer void, but night. No longer nothing, but depth. Balance was born. The spark descended to the Serpent King, touching his forehead. It sang without words, of skies unborn, oceans waiting, forests dreaming, stars longing. "I will guard it," he promised. The spark split. One half rose into the heavens, becoming the first sun. The other surrounded the Serpent King, forming depths, warmth, and memory. The world began, and in its hidden places, beneath mountains and oceans, within the earth's silent heartbeat, a great serpent rested, the Serpent King, forever listening to the first dream, forever protecting the world he awakened.